I'm gonna go in this direction, if that's fine. Moving on to the second piece over here. This piece, this one works. Its main themes are identity and change. Now, how this happens is basically I added vibrant color to the artwork because people normally perceive the future to be very vibrant and very bright. They always say, "Look, you have a bright future ahead of you," and such kinds of things. So that represents the future. But as human beings, we are afraid of the future because we don't know what's going to happen. That's a natural thing. We all have a fear of the unknown, and so because we're afraid of the future, we try to, as much as we can, to hold on to the past because that's what we know. That's our identity and that's who we are. And so to encompass that, I added things like the gramophones here, and I had it overflow to sort of enhance the future effect, and I had gramophones come back to be sort of a bland post, like a bland thing of the past. That's the essence of this artwork. And then moving on to this one, this art piece is one of my favorite art pieces as well. Mainly because I'm passionate about basketball and there's a basketball guy there. But also because this art piece, the way I came up with it is I looked for an artist called Paul Sample. Now Paul Sample has artworks of his called Off Watch. In these artworks, there are people sitting in an infirmary. It was around World War II and they're playing musical instruments. Now, that artwork spoke to me because these people are in the middle of a war and they're using what they love to carry them forward. They're using their passion. And to me, that shows their identity, that shows who they are. And I can reflect that in myself as well. Because in times when we're bleak, in times when we are going through hard times, we use our passions generally. We listen to things like music, we play sports, and this was me. This is essentially me. This artwork is also a bit personal, because last year, at around a month ago last year, I went through a breakup, so I was really down. Like, that was one of the worst times. And that's when I got the inspiration to this piece, because I loved basketball at the time, and basketball is really what made me survive with the piece. So yeah, this piece is one of my favorites. Moving on to this one. This one is also just to show my identity. I wanted to show my love for music, and yeah. My sample artists for this work were artists like C. Scott. I don't know if any of you have heard of C. Scott. He is an artist who's based in the UK. If you want to read a bit more about C. Scott, it's on one of my workbooks there on the whiteboard. But yeah, this artwork basically, it just shows my love. I wanted to show my love for music. That's all that it was a simplistic as that. Because music is my identity. I grew up in a family where everyone knows something about music. So it's just become a part of me. Yeah. And then this centerpiece of mine, yesterday when we were doing final touches, we were about joking saying this is the zone. But this centerpiece of mine really is a break from all the identity and change that I was talking about earlier. This was just to show consumerism. Consumerism is basically when people consume a lot increasingly without caring about what will happen. And this is essentially the result of that. And the red on the bottom is just to highlight that, like what we're doing for our planet, what we're doing for ourselves, what we're doing for everyone. And I just took random items because really it's anything. It's not just food, it's not just electricity, it's everything. And that's what this piece is about. It's just about consumerism. And then moving on to this one on the roof. This one is related to change. The main thing with this one is just migration, the way people react to change. I'm gonna try to keep this one a bit ambiguous and let the audience figure it out for themselves. Also because it's a bit too much to explain for myself. But this piece is basically about behavior, the way people behave during the change of time. Like when we're migrating, when we're moving, when we're changing, when time is moving from, for example, last year when I was born even to now, how time has changed. Some of the items in this piece are related to that, but all of them really. And yeah, I'm gonna leave this one in particular to let the audience interpret it for themselves. Yeah, moving on to this piece. This piece is, how I came up with this piece is I really got homesick. Cause around the beginning of the year, because last year I didn't go home because I visit home. I'm Zambian, by the way, for those of you who don't know. So every year in December I visit home, but last year I didn't. And so I became really homesick, and I remember things that I used to do with my brothers, and this was one of them. They used to build wire cars and we used to play with them. And that was an effort of me trying to reach back into my identity to find myself, because when you're homesick you generally get lost, you're sick literally. And yeah, this was my outlet. I became tied up to this piece, and yeah, this is what this piece is about basically. It's about us trying to reach into our memories. And the reason I put the cage around the car is because no matter how we try to reach into the memories, that's all they are. It's just memory. We can't really touch it. We can see it, which is why it's a cage. We can see through it, but we can't really touch it. There's nothing we can do within the past. It's a memory. And moving on to the board, let me just turn it on quickly. Or let me explain before I show. I'm going to show you a piece that basically shows a struggle of change with time, like a struggle of individuality, and you trying to hold yourself, you trying to hold your passions through change, through time. And that's the piece I'm going to show you. It's a short time lapse that I did. It's not too long, it's about 1.5 minutes. And yeah, let me just set it up quickly.